Hi, this is Shantakumar and my registration number is UR14CS190. This video is for my web technology lab experiment number 1, and the name of the experiment is working with HTML5 tags. In this experiment we'll be having a very close look at the very basics of HTML, and with the help of these basic tags we are expected to create a website and which contains three sections. The first section contains some dummy text and examples of some hyperlinks. The second section contains some dummy text and examples of some list. The third section contains some dummy text and example of some sort of a table, and the website must be validated in this following website. And we are also not allowed to use any break tags or any CSS coding. Okay, now let's jump into the web page directly. So whatever coding part we are going to build has to lie within the HTML tag, and the web page is divided into two parts. The first part is the header and the other part is the body. In the header part I mentioned first experiment within title tags, so it became the title of the web page, first experiment, as you can see here. Then I've also mentioned meta character set UTF-8. This helps in including all ASCII characters we are going to be using in this experiment. That's it for the header part. Now let's move on to the body part. The very first thing is the title of the web page, and the size of the title can vary from h1 to h6. I've mentioned title within the h1 tags, and also I have ID'd it as top, which would be very useful in the later part of this experiment. Then I have three subheadings, and they're mentioned within anchor tags, and it has a, what do you say, an element called hyperlink reference. So when I click on this subheading, it would take me to the what do you say, place which is ID'd as sub1, and the same thing goes for the subheading 2 and subheading 3. um, okay, now let's move on to the first section. The first section says it should contain some dummy text and examples of some hyperlinks. The dummy text is provided within the paragraph tags. See, as you can see, it's opened and closed here, and this is the dummy text. Yeah, that's it for the dummy text. Then we move on to the external link. The external link has to be mentioned within the anchor tag, and the address of the web page which you're going to, what do you say, navigate to, has to be mentioned within the double quotes. And so hence when I click this, it would take me to the My Karunya website. That is an example of an external link. An internal link, the same thing goes for internal link as well. I mentioned the name of the, what do you say, web page within the double quotes, and hence when I click this, it would take me to the address I mentioned here. Then comes the email link. um, it's the same for email link as well, except that you have to use the keyword mail to and a colon, and you mention the mail address in that space. um, Phone link, the phone link is also very similar. You mention them within the, what do you say, the anchor tags, and within the href you use the keyword tel and a semicolon, sorry, a colon, and the phone number. So you've included all types of links here, and this is an example of a clickable image. The clickable image is mentioned within a anchor tag, and you have to use this particular tag, image space source, and the source of the image has to be mentioned in here. And the size and other stuffs can be, what do you say, changed or modified with the help of this style tag. Mm, and if it's a clickable image, it has to take me to a website or whatever, what do you say, whatever link I've mentioned. In this case I mentioned next.html, so hence when I click this image, it would take me to the uh, address that is mentioned in here. So, and next is go to top. This is an example of an internal link within the page. So when I click this, it would take me to the place which is mentioned as hashtag top. That is, it would take me to the title of the page. And that's it for the first subheading. Then moving on to the second subheading, we have the title of the second subheading mentioned within the h3 tags. Then we have some dummy text mentioned between the paragraph tags, and we have some data and their respective definition. DL stands for data list, and the heading of the data is PHP, and its subsequent definition is server-side scripting language. The heading is mentioned between the DT tags, and their definition is mentioned between the DD tags. Similarly, the same thing goes for this as well. Now let's move on to the list. We have two types of list: ordered list and unordered list. The very basic difference is that ordered list has some sort of numbering or alphabets or something to them, whereas unordered list would not contain any of this. They just have some squares or discs or something like that. So the very first thing is an example of an unordered list, and the type of bullet I've used is square, and so I mentioned type is equal to square within the double quotes. And the first element in the list is first item, and the second element is second item. That's a very simple example of an unordered list. Then we move on to the ordered list. Ordered list uh, is mentioned between the OL tags. Similarly, the same thing goes for unordered list, which is mentioned between the UL tags. So when I give OL, it also requests to know what kind of order it has to be. So the first element is first item. That is a very basic example of a order list. That's it for the second subheading. And similarly, I have this go to top link here as well. It would take me to the title of the experiment when I click that. Now moving on to the third subheading, we have some, what do you say, dummy text. As in the earlier cases, it is mentioned between the paragraph tags. Then we are going to create a table in here, which is mentioned between the T body tags. Since we need a border for this table, we mention table space border equal to 1, and the caption of the table is mentioned between the caption tags, and the T body is the place where you define your table. And we have 1 2 3 4 and 5 rows in here. uh, you just have to mention them between the TD tags, that is D stands for data. All of these which would lie within the TR tag. So that would be the definition of the first row. Moving on to the second row, we have TR tag opened here, then we have TD row 2 column number 1. This here is an example of spanning. So when I mention row span equal to 2, it takes the size of the cells of two, what do you say, two cells within the same row. That is row span equal to 2. And when I mention col span equal to 2, it takes the size of two columns, as you can see here. Okay, as you can see here, yes. Then within the table also we've included some links. As we've seen in the earlier cases, they would be mentioned between the anchor tags. Here it would take me to this web page which is mentioned here, that is www.google.com. Similarly, all other, what do you say, links have are mentioned between the anchor tags, and their respective address is mentioned between the double quotes of hyperlink reference. um, and again we have this hashtag top. So when I click on go to top, it will take me to the title of the experiment, or the web page. And we'll also see some examples of how this works. When I click on this, it'll take me to the my Karunya web page. And when I click this, it will take me to a website which I've created. And email link will take me to an email and all that. Yeah, that is the working of my first experiment. Thank you.